Hello and welcome to Granada Reports, live with the latest across the northwest.
Hello there on the programme this evening.
Figan Murray for services to counter-terrorism.
For campaigning tirelessly to make our lives safer, Figan Murray, whose son Martin was killed in the Manchester Arena bombing, gets an OBE.
5 years ago our life changed, and 5 years ago I wouldn't have thought I'm here at the Palace receiving an award.
Could this site in Cheshire be the future of green manufacturing? Taking the hot seat, we hear from Burnley's new manager, Vincent Company.
Looks like fun, but one of our region's oldest Polish communities says its culture could die out without more dancers.
These clouds over Winter Hill certainly mean business, but what does the weekend have in store? Join me later for the forecast.
I'm live in Manchester, where the UK Athletics Championships are underway. 45 British champions will be crowned here this weekend. Will local hero Keely Hodgkinson be one of them? I'll have all the sports news later in the programme.
Yeah, lots in the programme for you this evening. First tonight, the major honour for the mother who's campaigned to protect us from attacks by terrorists since her son was killed in the Manchester Arena bombing.
Figan Murray from Stockport is pressing the government to enforce what she calls Martin's Law, named after her son Martin Hett, to protect everyone who goes to big events with better security measures.
Well, today she's received an OBE at Buckingham Palace, but she says her work goes on. Zoe Muldoon has this report.
Figan Murray for services to counter-terrorism.
For the past 5 years, Figan Murray's life has been dedicated to campaigning for change. After her son Martin Hett was killed in the Manchester Arena bombing in 2017, she spearheaded an anti-terrorism campaign and helped educate thousands about the dangers of radicalisation. Today, her work was recognised with an OBE from the Duke of Cambridge.
It's all a little bit surreal. Obviously 5 years ago our life changed, and 5 years ago I wouldn't have thought I'm here at the Palace receiving an award that obviously, all the work I didn't do for that purpose. But yeah, it's very humbling, and really, I'm really grateful to my family that they've supported me.
Since Martin's death, Figan has successfully lobbied the government to make public spaces and venues safer through Martin's Law. The proposed bill took a major step forward in May after it was included in the Queen's speech. It will require venues to have plans in place to deal with a terrorist incident and offer training to staff. Hundreds of businesses in Manchester have already taken it up, but Figan says there's still work to be done.
Once the legislation is in, I personally feel it'll not instantly cause more safety and security, because I think, people don't like change, and I think there will be a period of embedment, but, in 2-3 years down the line, hopefully, everybody who goes out and about venues will feel a little bit safer.
As well as getting Martin's Law off the ground, Figan's spoken to almost 20,000 children in schools across the country and even graduated with a master's degree in counter-terrorism. Today, standing proud at the Palace for the mother who channelled her grief into a force for good, the hard work in Martin's memory goes on. Zoe Muldoon, ITV News.
Yes, we salute Figan Murray, and of course we'll follow the progress of Martin's Law until it becomes law. Now though, another first for our region, this time in the world of green energy.
Yeah, we're going on a tour of the UK's first industrial scale carbon capture plant at Northwich in Cheshire, which officially opened today.
So what is carbon capture? Well, put very simply, it's a way of taking carbon out of the atmosphere. In this case, equal to taking 20,000 cars a year off the road.
And all that carbon's also being put to good use. Our reporter Anna Yosef has more.
Sprawled across the Cheshire landscape, this is Britain's biggest carbon capture project, billed as the future of green manufacturing. This site belongs to Tata Chemicals Europe, the UK's sole manufacturer of sodium carbonate and sodium bicarbonate, used to make essential products like food, detergent, medicines and glass. They say they'll now be able to recycle 40,000 tonnes of waste carbon dioxide every year. And in a world first, the captured carbon dioxide will be used to produce pharmaceutical quality sodium bicarbonate, generating millions.
What carbon capture does is to take carbon dioxide that otherwise will be emitted to the atmosphere, captures it in a plant, concentrates it up, purifies it, and then turns it into a raw material which we can use in the manufacture of pharmaceutical grade products here.
All this carbon dioxide is being generated by the gas-fired power station behind us here. Isn't this just an excuse to carry on using fossil fuels?
Absolutely not. What this is doing is saying at the moment we don't have the technological answer that says we can make our energy requirements from anything other than fossil fuels, but hence why you need the roadmap to get to that piece. This is a really important step. It's 20,000 cars off the road, it's 12% of our emissions, and while we're trying to make that transition to hydrogen over the next decade, this does a really good job in the meantime of saving significant carbon dioxide.
The projects cost £20 million to complete. Bosses say it's about safeguarding jobs, the industry and the environment.
What difference this is actually making to the issue of global warming?
So climate change is something that's going to impact us all, and so we recognise that, and so doing this helps us secure raw material, but also it reduces our carbon footprint, which is increasingly important to kind of everyone in the world, including our customers.
The Weaver Vale MP says it's a major milestone.
Massively significant. Here in the heart of my constituency that was at the forefront of the Industrial Revolution, now at the forefront of the Green Industrial Revolution. And very importantly, it sustains 400 jobs on this site and in Middlewich, and they're good paid jobs.
A step in the right direction on the journey to a carbon-free economy. Anna Yosef, ITV News, Northwich.
Well, Nesk, and they risk everything in the hope of finding a better life here in the UK. But in reality, many refugees find themselves at risk of homelessness and destitution after they arrive.
It's an issue that affects people without children, particularly single men, because local councils don't have the same obligation to house them in the way they do for families.
But now one charity in Lancashire is trying to break the cycle by providing additional support for the most in need. In the final of our special reports to mark Refugee Week, Emma Sweeney has the story.
Three and a half years ago, Shwana Mohammadi from Iran climbed into the back of a lorry and smuggled his way into the UK. He says he had no choice. Where he's from, having albinism makes you a daily target for abuse.
Me being an albino in Middle East, it's really hard because people don't have the knowledge. They don't know anything about it and they just give you the wrong treatment. It's not good for you to live there.
Instead, Shwana placed his hope on rebuilding a new life here in the northwest. After working his way through the asylum system, he was granted refugee status 8 months ago.
So when you get your answer after 3.5 years, you think, oh my God, this is a good moment. Every door will be open to you and you have a lot of opportunity to live. The reality is, when an asylum seeker gets the visa, we have new issues to deal with.
And those new issues leave many, particularly single people, at risk of homelessness and destitution. Shwana may well have his status, but he's now living in a homeless hostel. He won't be moving into a home anytime soon.
So a person, when they receive their refugee status, they have 28 days to leave the accommodation that they're staying in and find new accommodation and find work, essentially. And that's just not a realistic time frame for people. So what we experience or find at the Boas Trust is that some people end up street homeless, sleeping in the entrances to stations and in other places because they're just not able to access the private rental market in that time. They're also waiting for their biometric residence permit, which contains their national insurance, and without that you can't work.
Right, Kevin, we need to sign you up for a GP, so which is a doctor, yeah? So we need to take some details.
One charity in Lancashire is trying to help those refugees at risk of homelessness. They provide them with housing and wraparound support until they can live independently.
We'll help them navigate the really complicated system around housing benefit and local council and council tax and water rates and all these things that you need to know about life in the United Kingdom to make a fresh start.
And it's thanks to this help that Kevin from Iran hasn't had to face the prospect of homelessness or destitution. He has his own room and a house share, and that means he can now concentrate on integrating within society.
So I want to learn English as fast as possible and go to my classes and get my life going and do what I did back in my country, which was a coach.
Kevin says he can now dare to dream because of this support. Others don't feel so lucky. Emma Sweeney, ITV News.
Well, we've had a statement from the government about the situation many people face after they've been granted asylum. They say refugees need to receive the right support once they have been granted asylum in the UK, which is why we fund Migrant Help, who contact refugees at the start of the 28-day period to provide advice on accessing employment opportunities, financial support and housing.
Yeah, the statement goes on to say asylum accommodation is currently under huge strain and increasing the move-on period would only exacerbate these pressures. Our new plan for migration will fix the UK's broken asylum system.
Now, here's what's still to come on the ITV News at 6:30 with Lucrezia.
Coming up, what is next for the Prime Minister?
And I do hereby declare that Richard John Ford is duly elected.
The Conservatives suffer two bruising by-election defeats and an early morning resignation, but the PM vows to fight on. And today might not get any easier for Boris Johnson as he meets Prince Charles in Rwanda. Plus, Katie Price avoids being put behind bars for breaching a restraining order against her ex. Join me for those stories and much more at 6:30.
Time for sport now, and a big weekend of athletics taking place in Manchester. Athletics is one of my favourite sports, so it's good to hear. Mike can tell us all about it. Hello, Mike.
Yeah, hi guys. Good evening from Manchester's regional arena where the UK Athletics Championships are underway. Now, this might not be an Olympic year, but it's still a big one. There are 3 global events on the calendar this summer. We've got the World Championships in 3 weeks' time, closely followed by the Commonwealth Games and then the European Championships. So this event this weekend is an opportunity for athletes to force their way into the British team. We have 3 days of competition. 45 British champions will be crowned here this weekend, and there are some big names on show, including Dina Asher-Smith, Laura Muir, Chorley's Holly Brad, and right now out there on the track ready to compete in the 400 metres is a bit of a local hero. Keely Hodgkinson is from just up the road in Atherton, and she became one of the biggest names in British athletics when she won silver at last summer's Olympic Games. This weekend, Keely's racing in the 400 metres, safe in the knowledge that she's already booked her place in the World Championships in the 800 metres. A few minutes ago, I spoke to her coach, Trevor Painter. Well, Trevor, I know athletics takes yourself and Keely all over the world. This must be one of the shortest journeys you'll make this year.
It is. It's always a great time to come and compete at Sports City, whether you're doing an open meeting inside or on the outdoor track. Because, yeah, we do travel a lot. You know, it's a great weekend for us that it's up north.
No doubt about it. There's a real buzz here that Keely's about to take to the track, because you find yourself now with one of the shining lights of British athletics, don't you?
Yeah, she's progressed really well in the few years we've been with her. So, yeah, she has announced herself on the scene as such, and she's had a great start to the season, outdoor season, so we can only hope for better things as we continue.
She's obviously in that great position that she's already qualified for the World Championships in the 800, so she's competing in the 400 this weekend. What's the ambition?
In terms of improving her 800, we need to improve that 400 metre speed as well. So she doesn't get many opportunities to race for. So because she won that Diamond League last year, it allowed us to not have to do the 8 here. As you say, we're pre-selected so we can get a bit of speed work done, and and hopefully get ourselves into that relay team as well if the timetables allow.
She's a cool customer, but how does she spend that last few minutes before she takes to the track?
I think most girls are, checking on appearance first of all, but no, she is really calm, cool, collected, and she knows what she's got to do. She's practiced and rehearsed this a lot, so it's just making sure the final bits are ready, the spikes are on, and everything looks good, and then they're ready to go.
Okay, good luck tonight, Trevor.
Thank you very much.
And there she is, all ready to race in her 400-metre heat in just a couple of minutes' time. But we're going to move on to football now, and to a man who made his name just a few yards away from where I'm standing now. Vincent Kompany played for Manchester City for 11 years, 8 of those as captain. Now, of course, he is the new manager of Burnley. And he's been telling our sports correspondent Chris Hall how he turned down some big clubs to take the job.
Most people would have been surprised about my choice because the other candidates were probably more renowned and with a little bit more. But look, in the end, it's a long career. I'm a young coach and I want to make the right steps. It's a good club, good people, and fantastic facilities to train and perform. And it's a matter of time. I think we'll be able to show what we're doing. It'll take time, but it's exciting.
When Burnley were in the Premier League, they were a thorn in the side of many of the bigger teams. Your ex-manager Pep Guardiola once described playing Burnley as like a trip to the dentist. What was it like for you playing against Burnley?
I mean, look, there's a side of hostility in this place that has to remain. It's so important. It's part of, I think, what this team enjoys to be. But of course, we're in a little bit of a different division now. We're playing championship teams, and amongst the championship teams, I think it still has to be a horrible place to come to. But at the same time, we have to back ourselves to win more games, and that's the team we are in that league. So yeah, it's about mixing the two now.
Tell me about the immediate goals that the owners have set for you here, because they have to pay off a big chunk of this £65 million loan. Have they impressed upon you that it's important to get back into the Premier League as quickly as possible?
I think the reason why I came is because they were so open about the debt and about how it's structured, how we need to organise the repayments and what needs to happen for it to, and there's one path, which is first going back to the Premier League and suffer in the Premier League, because that's still going to be the journey for Burnley at the moment. Or there is also the other road where it's a little bit longer, but we create value through the team by selecting the players that fit the project and have got the right age and create value and grow and as well excite the fans and the league. So there's different ways to achieve it, but the most important part of it is just being honest and having a plan for it, and that's why I came here, because it was so clear.
Now you've got your first game coming up against Huddersfield. What sort of a manager are you on the touchline? Can we expect to see you flailing your arms around and passionate, or will you have a poker face? What can we expect?
Like I think of myself of someone that remains extremely calm, in between. So that means before the game, after the game, and everything that leads up to the game. But once the game starts, I might still, what do you call that? The headbutt in the air where the coaches do on the side of the pitch. I live the game, and I'm passionate, and there'll be the fans that will be there, but I'll be part of, pushing them with my voice, and at the same time, giving them as much help as I can.
And that is it from me here in Manchester. Keely Hodgkinson just about to start her 400-metre heat here at the UK Athletics Championships. A big weekend of action here in Manchester. But for now, it is back to the studio.
Mike, thanks very much for that. Good to see Keely Hodgkinson in her natural habitat there this Friday evening.
And keeping our fingers crossed for her and the rest of the season.
Now to the TV stars who had us wearing leg warmers over our jeans in the 80s, if you're old enough to remember. Well, that crime against fashion didn't stop a Merseyside detective getting the kids from Fame back together.
Crime against fashion? I think they absolutely need to bring it back. Well, look, they're raising money for Clare House Children's Hospice based on the Wirral to help them build a second site across the water near Alder Hey Hospital in Liverpool.
Vicky Grimes takes up the story.
It's a show that sparked a craze for leg warmers, made dancing on taxis an art form, and turned its teenage cast into stars. And 40 40 years on, they're reunited, and it's all thanks to Merseyside Police Detective Sue Hines.
It's like having two full-time jobs at the moment. I finish one job at 5 o'clock and start the next one at 5 past. So yeah, it's really busy, especially on the run-up. And of course, it's the 40-year anniversary of the show this year, which sort of gives away how old I am. So it's got to be done. I was a Fame fan when I was a kid, when it was on TV. I was about 11. I started writing to Valerie Landsberg. Hi, Val. And we literally kept in touch.
Sue's first Fame reunion was a huge success. Proceeds from the second concert in September will once again go to Clare House Hospice in Liverpool. And Valerie was only too happy to put her dancing shoes on again.
The first time I went to Clare House, I had never seen anything like it. And the support level for everybody in the family is so extraordinary.
Do you want to pour this and put it in your pot? Ready?
For 7-year-old Gwendolyn and big brother Isaac, Clare House is a lifeline.
Will you make some for me? Of course. Normally when she gets home from Clare House, she's like, no, me want to stay at Clare House. But also, it's nice for me and my mum and my dad, because then I can spend some time with them by myself. Basically, it's one of the best things that has ever happened to this family.
Isaac looks after me as well as Gwen, and you can kind of see it in him when you know that he could do with a little bit of space, and we can focus on him, and so he gets some attention, because when she's around, because of the medical needs that she's got, all the attention tends to go on her.
This Clare House in West Derby is a new site, just minutes from Alderhay Children's Hospital, where Gwen spends much of her time.
We're in Alderhay so much, so we can come from Alderhay to here and then not have to worry as much about being away from her, because, you know, if we get a call, we can go back.
18-month-old Oliver's also spent much of his short life at Alderhay. He was born with half a heart.
Amelia, it's tough enough being a first-time mum, but to know that your little baby's poorly, I mean, it's quite a lonely place to be. What's Clare House meant to you?
You know, a lot of friends have had children and family members, and it is hard. You can't relate as much as they try. It is hard. So it's really nice that through Clare House you get to meet the other parents as well.
One day what we'd like to see is this to be a full functioning hospice, because at the moment we can only offer daycare. Children can't stay overnight. So really we need to raise more funds through things like the Fame concert in order to be able to look after more children who really need us.
You like music, don't you? Yay!
I mean, you're probably too young to remember Fame when it was on. Aren't you? Too young.
No, but I know all the songs.
Promise me you're going to sing High Fidelity when you come over. If you knew how many hours I spent dancing to High Fidelity round my friends' lounge.
You'll get to dance to it again this year.
Brilliant.
Fab. Next, the Northwest has welcomed people from many nationalities who've settled here. While this evening, one of our region's Polish communities is calling for help to keep part of their culture alive.
Yes, the Polonaise dance troupe in Manchester has been going for 73 years, but now it's suffering a bit of a membership crisis.
Here's Claire Hannah.
Keeping Polish culture alive and kicking. The Polonaise dance troupe was founded in 1949 by a group who settled in Manchester after arriving from Poland after the Second World War. It's got a long history, from performing at events for the Queen's coronation, and generations later, these weekly sessions in Moss Side.
I was born and raised in England, Manchester. And my parents brought me up in the Polish community, this church and this church hall. For me, personally, I feel like Poland's kind of in my veins, and I want to show all that I learned, that I got shown as a child, to my children, and to keep that going, because it is part of my heritage, it's part of their heritage and their children's heritage.
Numbers have dwindled over the years, though, particularly since the pandemic.
It's inevitable. You get to the teenage and it becomes kind of uncool. COVID really hit the young dance group quite hard, because we did have quite a few 14, 15, 16-year-olds dancing. But COVID sort of took that away from us, I think, because a lot of those children stopped coming.
But it is now hoped this new bunch of youngsters will help keep the tradition going.
I think it's important because all the dances are unique in their way and you won't find them in any different country.
It's important because we need to keep the Polish culture in Manchester alive so Poland can stay recognised.
Dancing, singing and being with my friends.
Everyone here says not only is Polish dancing fun and you get to learn all about the culture, it's also really good exercise and you don't have to be Polish to do it. The group will be performing at the Gobi Fest Folk Festival in Manchester this Sunday, so if you fancy it, go along and have a look and a spin. Claire Hannah, ITV News, Manchester.
Get involved, guys. Here's Joe.
Now that is brew weather.
And only boiling what she needs.
United Utilities sponsors ITV Granada weather.
Big up you, sis.
Thank you. A very good evening to you. Welcome to the weekend. From now on, a fresher and more unsettled theme to our weather. There will be some warm spells of sunshine here and there over the next few days, but also quite a few showers, and temperatures are certainly dipping away. It's been quite uncomfortable by night for sleeping the last couple of nights, and hopefully tonight will be a bit easier. High pressure's been in charge, but from now onwards, low pressure regains control of our weather across the UK. And for us here in the north of England, it means some spells of showery rain, bit of sunshine here and there, quite a fresh breeze, and temperatures around average at best. Back to this afternoon and this evening, you may have heard one or two rumbles of thunder, perhaps in the Pennines. For the most part, overnight tonight, showery rain will tend to move through quite quickly on that breeze. And the early hours of Saturday morning look drier, clearer, quieter. And temperatures tonight probably dipping to around 10 or 11 Celsius away from built-up areas. On to tomorrow, Saturday's sun times. It will be up at 4:41, setting at around 9:45 tomorrow night. On to tomorrow, some nice sunshine around for many places to start the day, but note one or two showers already from first thing. We have a breeze again, and into tomorrow afternoon, more showers will crop up across the whole of the northwest of England and the Isle of Man. Some of these heavy, merging to form longer spells of rain. Perhaps if you're on the roads, there'll be some surface water and spray. Around them, a bit of sunshine, and of course at this time of year, UV levels are quite high, so if you're in a sunny spell, it'll feel warm. 19 Celsius, though, is certainly fresher than it has been. Fresher again on Sunday with further showers, and next week looks cool and unsettled.
United Utilities sponsors ITV Granada weather.
2 sugars, please.
Oh, lovely.
Hello, summer. Piri sponsors ITV pollen count.
Grass and nettle pollen levels today have been high. Going into the weekend, unfortunately, it remains high. But with the fresher weather next week, it'll be down to moderate. Enjoy your weekend. Bye-bye.
Just before we go, an update on Keely Hodgkinson's race.
This is her coming round the final bend to finish in second place to qualify for the next race tomorrow. It is only a heat, remember. I'm sure she'll win the final.
Go get him, Keely.
Good night.
Bye-bye.